Hiring internally versus externally for lead gen teams, a strategic guide for 2024. The fork in the road for B2B lead gen teams. If you're leading a B2B sales org right now, you're dealing with the same pressure we see across the market. Pipeline targets are rising while headcount scrutiny is tightening. That's why hire SDRs internally versus sales outsourcing has become a strategic decision about speed, control, and risk, not a simple line item comparison. The model you pick determines how quickly you can generate meetings, how predictable your pipeline becomes, and how much operational drag you absorb. The catch is that outbound has changed. Buyers are harder to reach, inboxes are noisier, and generic sequences underperform fast, whether they come from an internal SDR or an outsourced sales team. So the real question isn't whether you can do cold email and cold calling, it's whether you can do it with consistent quality, tight feedback loops, and enough throughput to matter. In this guide, we'll break down how to choose between building in-house, working with an SDR agency or broader B2B sales agency, or designing a hybrid motion that combines both. We'll focus on unit economics, ramp time, and execution details like CRM integration, qualification standards, and handoffs, because that's where most teams win or lose. Why the internal versus external decision is higher stakes than ever. The biggest shift is that sales talent risk is now a board-level variable. Replacing a salesperson can cost $130,000 plus when you include recruiting, onboarding, and lost productivity. And the ramp to match a tenured rep averages 381 days. That timeline alone can turn a small hiring decision into a pipeline gap that lasts a year. Even if you hire well, turnover compresses the payoff window. Long-running benchmarks show average sales tenure around 1.5 years with roughly 39% attrition, which means many reps hit their stride and then leave shortly after. In practice, teams that rely exclusively on internal hiring often spend as much time rebuilding capacity as they do compounding results. Meanwhile, the market is normalizing third-party support. Around 68% of B2B companies use external lead generation services in some form, and some reports estimate about 45% of B2B tech marketing budgets flow into outsourced or hybrid lead gen. The takeaway isn't everyone should outsource, but that mature go-to-market orgs increasingly treat a cold calling agency or cold email agency as a flexible extension of their team. Start with unit economics, cost per held meeting. Before you debate philosophies, calculate your true, fully loaded cost per held meeting for an internal SDR. That means salary and variable comp, benefits and payroll taxes, tools and data, manager time, enablement, quality assurance, and the hidden tax of ramp and attrition. When you divide that total by the number of held meetings, not scheduled meetings, you're actually getting, most teams realize their internal cheap option is expensive. Then compare that baseline to external pricing models like retainer-based SDR pods, pay-per-appointment lead generation, or hybrid structures. Benchmarks from outbound providers suggest outsourcing can reduce cost per lead by 20 to 30% and deliver total savings as high as 40 to 60% once you factor in hiring volatility, management overhead, and tooling. The goal isn't to pick the lowest sticker price. It's to buy the best conversion economics downstream. If you do nothing else, do this. Keep strategy in-house, but let the numbers tell you where execution belongs. When the internal cost per held meeting is higher than a strong outsourced program after adjusting for conversion rate, the right answer usually becomes obvious. Choosing the right operating model, internal, outsourced, or hybrid. Internal teams win when context and complexity matter. If your deals are high ACV, technical, or politically complex, internal SDRs can coordinate tightly with AEs, product, and customer success to qualify accurately and protect deal quality. Internal SDRs also matter when your SDR role is explicitly a farm team and you want a predictable promotion path into AE roles. Outsourcing wins when speed and repeatability matter. A strong outbound sales agency can stand up a cold calling team and multi-channel outreach fast, using proven talk tracks, list building services, and operational rigor that most teams take months to assemble. This is especially useful when you're entering a new vertical, launching a new offer, or need immediate coverage while internal hiring catches up. For most mature teams, the best answer is a hybrid motion. Keep ICP definition, positioning, qualification criteria, and core account strategy internal while using an outsourced SDR partner for specialized campaigns, overflow capacity, or new market experiments. That structure lets you buy speed without giving up ownership, and it prevents the all-or-nothing trap that makes teams brittle. If you don't put internal cost per held meeting and outsourced cost per held meeting side by side, you're not making a strategy, you're making a guess. Making internal SDR hiring work without burning out your team. The most common internal mistake is treating SDR hiring as plug and play. Leaders assume results show up in 30 days, set aggressive quotas immediately, and then wonder why activity is high but pipeline is thin. In reality, you should plan for at least 1 to 2 quarters of meaningful ramp, with coaching, call reviews, and message iteration as the priority, not just volume. If you want internal SDRs to be a true talent engine, make the progression path real. Define what good looks like. Publish the skills required to become a senior SDR or AE, and run quarterly progression reviews so the role doesn't feel like a dead end. This is one of the few ways internal SDR economics can outperform outsourcing long-term, because you're building sellers, not only booking meetings. Finally, protect internal productivity with tight handoffs. Clear definitions for SAL, SQL, disciplined meeting notes, and strong AE follow-up prevent the SDR sets meetings, AEs don't trust them spiral that destroys morale. If you're short on enablement bandwidth, it can be smarter to backfill with cold calling services temporarily than to hire SDRs into a system that isn't ready to support them. Making outsourcing work. Buy speed without losing control. The biggest outsourcing mistake is choosing a vendor purely on the lowest cost per meeting. Rock-bottom pay-per-meeting lead generation often correlates with weak targeting, recycled lists, and meetings that don't convert, so your AEs pay the real price in wasted cycles. Instead, evaluate a cold calling agency or SDR agency on ICP alignment, list provenance, show rate, held to opportunity conversion, and the transparency of their process. The second common failure is poor systems integration. If your outsourced sales team is operating from spreadsheets, you lose attribution and the learning loop breaks. No shared dispositions, no consistent definitions, and no reliable performance story by segment. Require bidirectional CRM sync, standardized dispositions, shared dashboards, and weekly reviews so internal and external teams operate from the same source of truth. Brand protection comes from governance, not payroll. Poorly trained internal cold callers can damage your brand just as quickly as a careless vendor, especially if nobody is QAing messaging. Whether you outsource sales or build internally, enforce message approvals, compliance standards, and ongoing QA, call recordings, and email sampling, and treat the partner like a functional extension of your team, not a black box. Hybrid execution, shared playbooks, shared KPIs, and smarter tooling. A hybrid model only works when both sides run the same playbook. Keep ownership of ICP, qualification criteria, objection handling, and messaging internally. Then operationalize it in a shared living document that your internal SDRs and your outbound sales agency update together. This is also where multi-channel discipline matters. Cold email, B2B cold calling services, and LinkedIn outreach services should reinforce one another, not compete for credit. To manage performance, align on a small scoreboard across every source of pipeline. At minimum, track cost per held meeting, held to opportunity conversion, opportunity win rate, and pipeline velocity by source, and review it weekly, not quarterly. When those KPIs are consistent, you can make rational decisions about when to hire SDRs, when to expand a partner pod, and when to pause an experiment that isn't converting. AI raises the standard for both internal and external teams. Internal orgs need time and expertise to evaluate data providers, personalization tooling, sequencing, and QA. External partners can spread that investment across clients and often move faster. At SalesHive, we built our model around that reality. We act as a specialized SDR agency and B2B sales outsourcing partner while keeping ICP and strategy in your hands, so you get speed and rigor without giving up control. A practical 90-day plan to decide and de-risk your next move. If you're unsure which model is right, don't force a permanent decision up front. Run a structured 90-day pilot where you keep your core accounts and messaging strategy internal and assign one territory, vertical, or offer to an outsourced SDR partner with clear SLAs. This approach lets you measure time to first pipeline and compare results against your internal baseline without committing to a full rebuild. Your pilot should reflect real operating conditions, shared CRM workflows, agreed qualification standards, and weekly iteration on targeting and messaging. Use the speed advantage intentionally. Outsourced teams can often go live in 2 to 4 weeks versus the 3 to 6 months it can take to staff and ramp internally, so you can validate a segment before you create permanent headcount. If the experiment fails, you learn quickly. If it works, you scale with confidence. From there, build your long-term model around what you're actually optimizing for. If you need deep product nuance and a talent pipeline, invest in internal SDRs and protect ramp. If you need flexible pipeline coverage and speed, a cold calling company or sales development agency can be the right lever, often with 20 to 30% better cost efficiency when executed well. For most teams, the durable answer is hybrid: internal ownership plus external execution where it creates the most leverage.